removing rusted and seized nuts and bolts can be an absolute nightmare. That's exactly what faced us when we tried to remove our Ego mower blade. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 3-step process that we took to free that bolt. These steps can be taken individually or as a process like we did, depending on your situation. Step 1, use penetrative oil. Penetrative oil is an oil that's specifically designed to get into the thread of a bolt and loosen whatever's seizing it. To use it, simply spray a decent amount over the bolt, be fairly liberal with this, and allow it to soak in for a few minutes, and then reapply 2 or 3 times over a period of time, just to make sure that that oil is getting in there and actually doing its job. Once you're happy that you've put enough oil in it and it's done its job, then you can give it a go trying to loosen it. I would always recommend using an extension bar to your socket. It just gives far more leverage and far more power, and sometimes this will be enough to loosen it for you. If not, we move on to step 2. Step 2 is to try a 6-sided socket. Now we've dealt with the issue of whatever's seizing that bolt and lubricated it, we can move on to trying to grip the bolt itself more effectively. The standard 12-sided sockets are great, and usually they provide enough grip. When the bolt is seized, you need as much grip as possible, and that's where a 6-sided socket comes in. Obviously the bolt is 6-sided and the socket is now 6-sided, so you have much more contact area, therefore much better grip, and it's going to grip that bolt far more effectively and stop it stripping or rounding that bolt in the first place. It's a very useful socket to have, particularly if you have a bolt that you do undo many times. It's going to help prevent any damage to the bolt in the first place. We tried it, and as you can see, it's still not providing enough grip to loosen the bolt for us. It's just pulling off and rounding the bolt. So we had to move on to step number 3. Step number 3, try a nut remover kit. Nut remover kits are another type of socket. These sockets are designed to remove seized bolts. They have a counterclockwise design thread inside the socket which grips the bolt really tightly, and the more pressure you put on, the tighter it grips. So these things you can really crank with. They're super easy to get hold of. You can easily get them from Amazon, and they come in a multitude of different sizes. To use them, it is a case of getting the correct size socket, in this case a 14mm, or you could maybe go for the smaller size, say a 13mm, and just tap it on a little bit harder. But we used a 14 and it was absolutely fine. So you get your socket, you tap it on with a hammer to make sure it's nice and secure and bit into the metal as much as possible, and then simply put the socket on and try and loosen it. And for us, this combined with the penetrative oil and the previous stages was enough to free it up for us. All of the stages are definitely worth trying, as when we did finally free it up using the nut remover, you could actually see that the oil had actually got in there and dissolved the rust that was seizing the bolt in our case. I hope by this point whatever nut or bolt is seized for you is now free, and if it is, don't forget to hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing. All of the products mentioned will be linked in the description, do check them out there. And that just leaves me to say thanks again for watching. Bye for now.